Well, it was announced about a month ago that Disney would be removing major elements of the Magic Kingdom, more significantly being Tom Sawyer Island and the Rivers of America, to make way for a Cars themed land that would go into Frontierland. Well, since then, we know Disney has filed permits for construction to begin in this area, but Blog Mickey is reporting that Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island demolition project has hit a snag as the state requests significant changes to the permit. So we're going to read this article and give some thoughts on it. So hi, I'm Jared Capture the Magic. And we'll start here where it says Walt Disney World has not yet received initial state approval for its Frontierland expansion project, which will include the demolition of the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island. The demolition is required to prepare the land for a Cars themed expansion and eventually a Villains land in Magic Kingdom. The state of Florida has sent Disney a 6-page letter outlining dozens of faults in the initial application, which is related to water management actions that Disney has proposed to allow for an expansion of Frontierland. The state is asking Disney to make modifications to the permit within 90 days or the permit application will be denied. It says back on August 12th, Walt Disney World filed water management permits with the state of Florida, outlining the first steps that it would need to take to construct a Cars-themed Frontierland expansion in a Villains Land at Magic Kingdom. The permit proposed an impact on wetlands of more than 300 acres, although much of the work would take place outside of the Magic Kingdom boundaries, as Disney created water management facilities in the area to allow for land preparation work within the world's busiest theme park. It says, in essence, Disney wanted to construct 3 laydown yards to stage construction materials and equipment. These laydown yards would be built on marginally unsuitable land near the Rivers of America and the northwest section of Magic Kingdom along the tracks of the Disney World Railroad. So it's turning our attention back to this latest development. Disney World received a request for additional information, an RAI letter from the South Florida Water Management District on September 11th. The letter was delivered by email to a Walt Disney World employee with employees at the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District, which is the district that replaced the Reedy Creek district. This is now the new one that the state of Florida is controlling, and other companies were copied. The 6-page letter outlines 20 requests from the state, including a seemingly significant change of the permit type from an individual environmental resource permit into a conceptual permit with a broader construction implications and additional information about the work that Walt Disney World will be doing. Broadly speaking, the RAI asked Disney to provide updated information about construction that will happen after this phase of development and how it will impact water quality in the area. The RAI also asked Disney to demonstrate that they have pursued alternative site plans to reduce the impact on wetland functions. Other information that the state is seeking includes wildlife studies and potential impacts to protected species and any mitigation plans. The state would also like to complete a field inspection to verify wetland delineation for the project. One of the points of concern that was highlighted of being of concern to the staff is that the hydro period, or the period of time in which it takes a particular area to flood. Staff said that they were concerned that the finished elevations adversely impact the hydro period of the surrounding wetlands, and they have asked for graphs that would display the pre-development hydrology and the post-development hydrology. Okay. The state is also requesting information on dewatering operations, noting that the initial application appears to indicate that dewatering will take place. It is likely that they are referring to the draining of the Rivers of America. The state said that any surface water applications will not be considered complete until information is received about the likely dewatering activities. In total, the state is requesting a lot of information from Disney before they can consider approving the application. Disney has 90 days to respond before the application is automatically denied. It says, in our time covering Walt Disney World, we have not seen an RAI that has been this lengthy. That said, the acreage impact is also one of the more significant projects that we've encountered. So some of the requests appear to be relatively simple to respond to, while other requests will likely take time to collect the information needed to respond to the state. Says at this time, it's unclear if the RAI will impact the previously announced construction timeframe early 2025 for the Frontierland expansion to support the 2 car-themed attractions. Now, I can't speak to specifics when it comes to all the things they're talking about in here. All I do know is that this is a different process that Disney is going through now. As you know, before it was the Reedy Creek District, which I know technically Disney was not in charge of or wasn't supposed to be. But when you start looking into that, it was pretty obvious Disney essentially was just running their own special district. But now they report to the Central Florida Tourism Oversight District. Just rolls right off the tongue. But it's a little bit different setup. Now, I don't know how much that has to do with this. This seems to be coming from the state specifically in terms of you're talking wetlands and a lot of environmental things here. And it's, not uncommon that the government of any state or country has a lot of red tape at many times. And it seems like because there's so much, obviously the water from the rivers of America has to go somewhere. And they have drained this before, but it seems like now there's a lot of questions about how this is going to impact things and all the things that they outlined in this article. Now, I'm assuming, already I had been saying Disney is relatively slow on construction. That's pretty common for them. So I was already saying this area, I just never have believed the maybe 3 to 5 year span, maybe, but I think closer to 5+ is kind of the timeline of things that typically run with Disney, especially an undertaking like this. This definitely could impact that. That could definitely delay this because they're going to have to run. Look, it sounds like from what the article is saying, they're going to have to do multiple studies about the impacts in this area, which not only is going to be time, but it's going to be money because I'm assuming they're going to have to bring in outside people to see, hey, how is this going to impact some population of tree frog out here or things like that. So it seems that there is some bureaucratic red tape. It's difficult to know. A lot, like they said, a lot of this area is for what will be the Villains Land area, which is something they are expanding on and has a lot of land development. So it could be pertaining to that in terms of the developing new land in a wetland area. It could be something like that. Probably one of the reasons why Disney didn't want to put the Cars land back behind, like they initially said, behind Big Thunder, because developing land, I'm sure, has a lot of these hiccups here, which they're seeing, which is a lot of potential environmental impacts. You got red tape you may have to go through. So it's hard to know exactly where this stems from. This is something like Blog Mickey's saying they've never seen anything like this. But at the same time, Disney's never really undertaken this much of a change in one of their parks that is involving waterways and what happens there and developing new land around that area. So it's hard to know how much of this is because of the new oversight of committee. It's hard to know how much of this is just simply the state or if this is just the normal procedures. But it's either way, there seems to be some at least some snags in the initial plan here. Now, I have made a video talking about this. I hate the idea that Rivers of America is going away. So it's not like I read this and I'm sad. I would actually love if Rivers of America were saved. It would end up kind of being funny if the Rivers of America end up being saved due to bureaucratic red tape on some level. But, who knows if this is going to ultimately do anything to change the plans that they've made? Probably not. It just seems like they have to gather more information. They may not be able to hit the ground running as soon as they can. But having said that, I suppose hitting the snag here does open up the door to potentially Frontierland and the Rivers of America not being, transformed or taken away initially, like said before. I suppose, again, this could get denied if Disney doesn't come back with the proper materials. It says it automatically could get denied if they don't respond. I think they said within 60 days. So there is the chance that whatever Disney even comes back and gives them, that they deny it. Now, that doesn't mean that Disney can't refile for it, make some changes that they're requesting. So it seems like this could be a little bit back and forth. So more than likely what we're looking at is just a delay in all of this. But I guess on some level, there is the chance that this area could be saved. And, honestly, though, I would rather this area be saved if it's going to be saved, which I'm not holding out hope that it is. Don't get me wrong. But if this area were to be saved, I would much rather, I think it would come across much better if the Disney companies themselves said, you know what, we've decided to not do this because so much fan backlash. We decided we're going to do this in a different way or whatever. We're not going to take out all this stuff. We're going to somehow leave the Rivers of America, whatever it is. I would much rather that be the scenario that takes place, because then at least it would seem that Disney's responding to their fan base. And, a lot of people talked about how they didn't like it, and they're saying, okay, we hear you. We'll make a compromise or something along those lines. Maybe what's happening over in Hollywood Studios with the Muppets area not being taken out for, Monsters Inc. land. That is, it seems like that is a potential scenario that is playing out over there. You would like to see that and them admit that. But at the same time, I suppose if it did save this area and it just was because of these permits or whatever, the state is demanding them do, I suppose a win would be a win. But again, I'm not holding out that that's going to happen. It seems like this is probably just some sort of procedural delay. If you've ever done construction stuff, you you get hit with permits and all sorts of things you got to file. So it doesn't mean that a project won't happen. It just means more than likely it's just going to be delayed. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see on the development of this. But as of now, we know they hit some snags, and I'll have to wait and see what happens from this point going forward. But either way, that's going to be it, though, for this video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel, as we do lots of coverage here of Disney World, Universal Studios, Epic Universe, and pop culture. And let us know in the comments, what do you think about these permit delays? And do you think this will change anything about what Disney plans to do over here in Frontierland? And until next time, we will see you in the parks.